and she has been a patient advocate for a number of years, involved with the National Academies, the FDA Roundtable, and brings some really valuable insight to all the work we're trying to accomplish for our patients. And so with that, Jennifer, please, thank you.
I don't know. Hi, everyone.
Morning.
I've spoken to a lot of you yesterday, and I had a very precise presentation, speech laid out to give to all of you. And then, as I'm lying in bed last night finishing up this presentation, I got a text message from a patient who's part of the community of patients who reach out and always ask me, what do you think of this? We all talk to each other. And I started to laugh hysterically because, hold on to your hats, this was the text. It said, knock him dead tomorrow, just think of him. And if you know, you know. And I sent the picture to my mother, and she said, why are you sending a picture of Jerry Garcia? And I said, Mom, that's not Jerry Garcia. That's a surgeon. He's a very well-respected, I don't know if respect is the right word, he's a surgeon. And I said to her, yesterday, a lot of people asked me, how did you end up with all these issues with TMJ? How did you get down this road? How did you have the first surgery? And I said to her, I'm giving a presentation about social media and how all of these patients are going onto social media, asking for recommendations, figuring out who's the best doctor, what metrics are they using. And I said, Mom, in 1990, what were the deciding factors? What made you choose this man? And she said, well, he went to Vanderbilt, and your grandmother and your grandfather went to Vanderbilt. It's a great school. And he went to Harvard, and he was a doctor and a dentist, Jen. And I said, yeah. She said, he was the only one in the world who was a doctor and a dentist. I said, how do you know? He told me. Okay. And he had a beautiful office, and people were coming in from all over the world to see him. And he didn't take insurance because he was so good that no one understood how good he was or what he was doing. So the insurance companies wouldn't even, he was doing experimental things that were over their head. So, and he had a gorgeous office. And he had a handlebar mustache. And he wore horn-rimmed glasses and a bow tie. And I said, so that's what it was. She said, and he named the scale of classification for TMJ. He invented it, Jen. He's the guy. And I said, so if you saw that picture of him now, would you still let me go to him? She goes, no, he looks like he's in a jail. I said, so what was it that made you decide to use him? She said, he told me, because I said, we lived in Miami at the time. She had taken me to Baptist, to a very prominent surgeon who now is still practicing, who is helping a lot of patients. And he said, I fix all that guy's mistakes, and you don't have to go to me, you can go to him. It's your daughter. If it were my daughter, you decide, do you want the Chevy or the Cadillac? You go to him, you get the Chevy. You go to me, you get the Cadillac. And I said to her, he sold you a Cadillac, but you didn't look under the hood. You got a Chevy. I said, and you bought a used car at a full price. And unfortunately, I thought, God, my mother, if she had only had the resources of social media, I would have had a better shot. But the metrics that I've done the research on, the meta-analysis, same metrics. Patients are looking at the same stuff. Your branding, your website, you know, how your staff is dressed, all the things that sold my mother, it's a sales pitch. And the difference is, you guys are behind the 8 ball now because you can sell it, but then if you make one wrong step, they will give you a bad Yelp review and destroy your reputation. This man had the benefit of being before the internet. And I'm gonna go to, if he were practicing today, what would happen? Okay, so just, this is real stuff. I have all the stats, I can back everything up, but I think you'd rather hear the experience, what's going on with patients. Patients are consulting online reviews, they're using them first, their trust shifted during COVID, especially. because there was a lot of telehealth, but let's see.
Okay, I'm gonna need somebody to be on my side with this and tell me, is this an extremely inappropriate conversation for a doctor to have with somebody? So I suffer from really bad jaw pain because I have TMJ and it locks up. And from lifting, I'm clenching my jaw a lot. So I go see a TMJ specialist. Apparently he's the best in the area. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So I get into his office and I wait a really long time to see him. And finally, when I get in, I'm like, yes, this is gonna be awesome. Well, it was not. So here's me, I'm like sitting in the chair. He doesn't even introduce himself. He just walks through the room. He's like, open up. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, open up wider. And I said, well, I can't open up any wider. My jaw doesn't open. He's like, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to open your jaw. Close your mouth. So he like puts the seat back down. He turns my legs. He like turns my legs over so he's sitting now straight across from me. And I'm just like looking at him. And he's like looking me in the eyes and repeat after me, Dr. John. And I'm like, Dr. John. But at first I didn't do it because I was like uncomfortable. He's like, Dr. John. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, wants me to be a good girl. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and not clench my jaw more than 1 second per day. And then I repeat it after him. I'm like, okay. But there's a lady in the room with me, and she's like giggling, and I think she was awkward, and she's like trying to make the best of it. So I'm like, okay, well that was weird. So after he's showing me my x-rays and showing me that I clearly, you can tell I'm clenching, and whatever, not a big deal, he goes, can you open up again for me? No gloves on. No gloves. Bare hands. Didn't come in the room, wash his hands. Didn't use hand sanitizer. He's like there. Okay. So, and he's like in my mouth, rubbing his thumb on my bottom teeth and like sticking it back here, like in my gums.
I'm sorry, folks.
All around me. And I'm like uncomfortable, so I back up and I'm like, because I was like, you don't understand. Like, I don't care. Like, I was like, and he was like, excuse me, come here. And he sticks his pinky and he starts like massaging back there. No gloves on. And he's like, why are you squirming so much?
Yeah.
I was like, but she kind of drove me away. And I'm like, maybe I'm just being dramatic, but now that I'm like gone and I've gone home and rinsed my mouth out 6 times, why were your nasty fingers in my mouth and why did you act? Why am I squirming? What?
Okay, so, sorry for the interruption. But I think you got the point, is that this is what's going on, is you make what you think, I don't even know, sorry, I don't notice who's wearing gloves or not, I assume that you do you, I'm just there. But patients are noticing things and they're sharing it, and it's going viral. Why? Because she's entertaining and engaging. And what happens after she posts that, she just said Dr. John. People are DMing her. Who's that doctor? Who is he? We want to know. And they start hounding her until she gives the name. And then they start going, the doctor that she said was so-and-so. This is damaging to your reputation. It's not good for communication and trust between patient and provider. And it's one of the pitfalls of social media. There's patient empowerment that comes with it, and then there are dangers that come with it. I see it from both sides, the same way I see AI from both sides. I see the benefits and the risks. The reason that patients trust their peers, and I use Taylor Swift as an example, is they will do anything. If they're a fan, it's like a tribe. They follow one another. Oh, you have that bracelet, I need that bracelet. Oh, you have that splint, I need that splint. It worked for you, it'll work for me. They trust one another over what their provider is saying because they've lived it. They've been to that concert together. They've lived that experience together. I have bonds with other patients that I've never met, ever. And I feel like they're my family. I'm closer to them because I can say something to them like, I had a total joint replacement, done. We're friends for life. No, I don't even know some of their last names. We don't need to even exchange that information. But there's, as much as there's a shared love, there's a shared distrust for the broken healthcare system. and it's getting shared like these digital wildfires are going crazy. So there's opportunities for patient advocates who are well informed to help one another. The dangers are when patients become self-imposed providers, and patients are like, send me your scan, I'll tell you what you have. That doctor doesn't know what he's talking about. My doctor is the best doctor. Everyone's doctor, by the way, is the best. Everybody's who has had success in surgery went to the best doctor, and if you didn't have success, you just didn't go to the right doctor. So there's a lot of patient blaming, and then if something didn't go right, it's the surgeon's fault. I never blame a surgeon. There's a lot of confounding factors that go into surgery, but patients are looking at a few key things, and they're looking online not for positive outcomes, they're looking for red flags. They're searching your malpractice records. They're searching for anybody who said that you didn't give them you gave them a hug, but it was a little too tight and it felt inappropriate. Anything is something that can be used against you in a court of public opinion. And the court of public opinion is the world that we're living in now. As much as I don't like it, I appreciate it as a patient because I've been on the other side where I felt creeped out by a certain doctor, but at the same time, there's this weird, how do I explain it, battered patient syndrome, where patients are like, as much as I don't feel comfortable with my doctor, I don't want to lose him because he's my only hope. And if he doesn't treat me, and he has every right to dismiss, which a lot of doctors are doing, they have the right, it's a private practice, I don't want to see you anymore. Then where do patients go after they've already started their TMJ journey? They are stuck. So they're making very careful decisions. A lot of it is insurance based, which is another issue that they have. And then being ethical, like, yes, I want all providers to engage on social media with the patient population, but some of and I didn't even put the bad ones up, because some of them are just appalling. But come on, you're saying, and if I even pull it down, you'll see this person's followed by the American Dental Association. They're followed by some of the top oral maxillofacial surgeons. They're followed by the sponsors of this this conference. And it's like, come on, do better. That's my 2 cents on that. Places that you guys don't necessarily go, which are Reddit and Facebook, are where this content is living. I don't have the time to go there. It's not someplace that I think that you should live, but if you're going to go there responsibly. And don't go there to fight with patients. Go there to collaborate, communicate, and put out information that is combating misinformation. There is a way to do it. There is a way to find that link. Most of these patients, this whole thing is based on the abstract that I wrote, which is very long and has AMA references and could be published in a journal, but I'd rather talk about the things that I'm gonna get to the end. I have case studies for another time. My brother came into town last night and said to me, I gotta tell you the story about Deion Sanders' kid. He didn't get drafted. And I said, why? And he said, because he was brash and he was arrogant and he didn't go to, what was the thing that he didn't go to? The combines. And he's talking to me and I was like, that's so interesting because that lack of humility is what patients are noticing when a surgeon walks into the room. They want you to be confident, but they also want the walls to come down and recognize that you have the empathy to understand what they're living through. You don't need to tell them you had a fight with your wife, but you can let them know that you have one. So there is a line where I understand that you have to separate yourself when you go into an operating room. I understand I'm not a surgeon. I play one on TV in real life, but this is a perfect example of what can happen when hubris gets in the way and you're unable to actually practice your skill set because people are judging you based on the wrong things. call me get the hook, Dr. Granquist, when I go over. So again, a lot of this is about, the patient advocacy side of this that Oh My Jaw is trying to implement is a grassroots movement. It's not to berate or to argue, it's to come together with all of the 30 different umbrella conditions that fall under the heading of TMD and say, look, we can't make a change if we're all in different factions. We need to come together and say, this is where the healthcare system is falling short for us. There's this lack of continuity of care. We're not getting insurance coverage. All of the doctors are giving us different opinions. And then if we say something negative about a doctor, they're whispering about us, and we're afraid of getting blacklisted. And everyone, I'm not the only advocacy organization that's having trouble. They all say, oh, can I give you a testimonial? Can I give you a video of myself? But I need to be anonymous because I'm in the middle of litigation. I need to be anonymous because I don't want my employer to know. I need to be anonymous because I don't want my doctor to think I'm talking about him, or I don't want him to know I went for a second opinion. How can we advocate for better care and change if people are afraid to even talk about it because of the stigma attached? So hopefully we can work on, sorry for the bright colors. It didn't look that bright when I made this on my phone at 3 in the morning last night when I was like, I don't have a presentation, I should probably do one. But I also saw this last night as I was going to sleep, which I thought was interesting, because the first picture was the doctor that my mother trusted. And now I wonder, when people see his face and he says that, do they trust him because of who he is? If he grew that beard and looked like he was playing a banjo, would they trust that comment? And so I think a lot of it has to do with the way we present ourselves and better communication. And I don't even know how long I've talked. I have a whole other presentation to give. That was just me talking off the cuff. Where am I?
You have 10 minutes.
Okay, good. So now I'm gonna actually give the presentation that I was supposed to give. So, okay. So there's a lot of clickbait also that's going on online where care credit and marketing companies are posting stories of patients that had success stories, and then you click on it and you realize it's not a real success story. It's a financing company who's telling you can get your TJR covered if you finance it with their credit card company. And so there's a lot of education that needs to go on outside of the clinical so that patients understand what they're signing up for. So the informed consents, a lot of them say, I didn't even know what I was signing, because they don't even understand. That's why I brought up the AI thing the other day. They're not reading the informed consents, and they'll say, well, no one gave it to me until 5 seconds before I went in for surgery. But the metric of why they're choosing the surgeon, would it matter? I say to them all the time, if you got that informed consent a month before surgery, if you read it, would it change the decision to go with that surgeon? You already know what the risks are. You've already decided you're having this surgery. So yes, informed consents could be easier to read. We can bullet point them. We can make them more user friendly. But it's just like buying a car. It's a boilerplate thing. You're gonna sign it. I can't cross out and say, I'm willing to have this total joint replacement, but cross out that line that says I'm gonna have nerve damage. Okay, you can cross it out, but it's not gonna change the outcome. And so I think there's a lot of miscommunication, again, with the expectations that patients have. I have so many versions of this speech. And then there's a lot of doctors who say patients are refusing to be compliant, and the patients are saying the doctor's refusing to take my call. We need to have a little more grace with one another, providers and patients. Patients need to understand that providers aren't rushing them out the door, but they have obligations for satisfaction scores as well within their academic institutions. They have to fulfill those as well as manage what's going on in this unregulated social media world. And I only gave you like 2 snippets of what's going on in social media. but if given the time, I mean, I could show you some things that you would say, this is embarrassing to me as a dental professional, as a researcher, as a healthcare provider, that people are doing stand-up comedy and talking about patients. It's not, and I'm the first one to get up and mock myself, but it doesn't mean that somebody that I go to for healthcare should then be making fun of me behind my back. And I also have heard that there are a lot of Facebook forum support groups that are being moderated by surgeons anonymously, that are then posting success stories and prompting questions for patients to answer, so that they're using it as a marketing tool to drive traffic to their own offices. And is that ethical? You know, we talk about the ethics of AI. There's so many pieces of, you know, medical ethics that we haven't even addressed in the new age of technology. So I went home last night after everything I heard yesterday, and I put into ChatGPT, give me my medical history. And it gave me my full medical history. Because I've been using ChatGPT for so long that it literally gave me a timeline of my surgeries. It told me all of my autoimmune diseases. It gave me a list of my medications. And I was like, it did get some things wrong. But like you said, it was easy to edit. And within 2 seconds, if somebody asked me for my medical resume, done. And patients shouldn't have to spend time sitting in office after office, refilling out the same forms over and over, and have dentist after dentist send them, here's a 20-page form for you to fill out. Before I can treat you, I need you to fill it out. And if you don't, I'm like, you're not reading it. Sorry. I don't even want to fill it out. If I don't even want to fill it out, how am I supposed to believe that you want to read this thing with 62,000 check boxes, whether or not my grandmother had a heart condition? Like, seriously, what does this have to do with what's happening today? And I've told the story before. The best communication skills, the better the communication, the better the outcome. We talked about pain yesterday. I feel less pain just knowing that I'm confident in who my surgeon is. I'm confident in my relationship with him. That doesn't mean he's God. That doesn't mean he's the best surgeon. That doesn't mean he can help everyone. But it's a relationship. Maybe it's unhealthy, I don't know. But I feel like that guy's got my back. And he trusts me. If I call him and I say there's something wrong, he doesn't say, oh, she's being she's being histrionic, he knows I know my body, and he doesn't talk down to me. He respects my time, I respect his time, and we have a nice relationship. He also, and I'm gonna tell the story again that I told at the last conference, he has a great way of communicating with me as a patient when things go wrong. Because things do go wrong. I haven't really given my backstory, but I started out in 1990 with the Silastic implant, which I was told wasn't put in, and it was. And then fast forward, I was 15, I'm 52 in June. I'm up to 30 surgeries plus. Everything from open joint arthroscopy, arthrocentesis. My mother was like, he had a stealth station. I was like, what? They put donuts on my face. I mean, I've had Leforts, multiple Leforts. I've had bilateral sagittal splits. I've had 2 rib grafts. I've had total joint replacement twice. They found an incidental AVM. I had brain surgery. It's caused bone degeneration, and my elbow's broken, my wrist is, I've had braces 10 times. So when I go in to meet a new surgeon and he says, can you give me your history? No, just take a scan and see where I am now. Whatever happened before is behind me, and it's irrelevant to what we're doing today. And if I told that story to a new surgeon, he would be, I don't want to touch that. Nobody wants to go near that. But I'm a pretty easy patient. My surgeon will tell you, because I've been down the road. And when we came across a complication in 2021, I was going for total joint replacement. It was a stage surgery. Braces went on, ordered the custom joints. He cleaned it out, wired me shut, the eyeball spacer's in. I go back in December, my whole family flies in. The anesthesiologist comes in to get me ready to go to the operating room. I even have the IV in, which is like my biggest nightmare. He says, we're pulling the surgery, you have pneumonia. He said, I'm not doing the surgery on her, she won't make it off the table. I was like, I'm fine with that, it's okay, whatever, just do it. I can't. And he said, no. And my doctor came in and said to me, Jenny, he's air traffic control. I'm the pilot, you're a passenger. We can't take off. Like, I know you want this. But instead of just ending it with that, he said, but I will find a way. I will cancel a clinic day. We will go into my office right now, because the resident standing next to him said, you don't have any openings for at least another year. And I started to have like convulsions. And that is another issue that a lot of patients have, is that they feel like, I don't want to pick a doctor at a major academic institution because I'm going to be operated on by a resident. And residents have to learn, and they also freak out. This doctor wasn't even in the room when I had my surgery. He was in 2 other operating rooms. I didn't go to med school. I don't know if that's okay or not. I assume that you guys are following protocols. So again, the list of things that people are talking about online ranges from, this guy is better because he doesn't take insurance, this guy is better because he doesn't shave hair, this guy is better because he doesn't wire shut, this guy is better because he gave me a cell phone number. Or I read on Reddit subreddits that this guy's the worst, nobody go to him, and your reputation can be destroyed. This social media piece is something that I caution you as researchers and providers, and I caution patients, like, don't believe everything you read. So I'm gonna wrap it up, because if you give me a microphone and a platform, I could go all day, but I hope I said something that resonated and helped you understand the patient perspective on this, and where we can use social media to help us, and where it becomes a little dangerous. Thank you.
Good job, Jenny.